Again, as you all know, we had left few of the verses in our last session. We had taken up only 4 to 5 verses. Today we'll try to take up the remaining verses and try, because today I selected immediately because today being an auspicious day. Today is an Ekadashi, so it's a very good time for praying Lord Krishna. So I thought it's a very wise decision. Hence, I decided today. Otherwise, I was planning for tomorrow. Welcome all of you. Again, my humble salutations to my mentor and guru who taught me this divine knowledge. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. भवति यदनुभावात् एडमुकोऽपि वाग्मी जडमतिरपि जन्तुः जायते प्राज्ञमौलिः सकलवचनचेतो देवता भारती सा मम वचसि निधत्तां सन्निधिं मानसे च. My humble salutations to Goddess Saraswati. देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोष विवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरुंश्चान् गीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः. By saluting to Lord Narayana, I would like to begin today's session of Bhakti Yoga. In last session of Bhakti Yoga, we had seen what is Bhakti and what is Navavidha Bhakti, that is 9 varieties of the Bhakti, how important it is. Because it is Bhakti Yoga, we should know what are all the facets of the Bhakti. Then we had also seen the glory of 12th chapter, what is the glory and what is its significance. In the entire Bhagavad Gita, 2 important nectarine chapters are there. One is the 15th chapter that we had discussed earlier, and the second is the 12th chapter. Both are very small chapters, and as we have seen in last 15th chapter, Lord calls the 15th chapter as Guhyatamam, that is top secret, which we had seen in last session. Then we had begun with this Bhakti Yoga, which is also one of the important chapters, considered to be important chapters, but very small chapter with only 20 verses. So these 2 are very important chapters that we are dealing with, and we are fortunate to have a satsang like this. I had covered 4 to 5 verses, that is with Arjuna's query. Arjuna Uvacha. एवं सततयुक्ताये भक्तास्त्वां पर्युपासते ये चाप्यक्षरम् अव्यक्तं तेषां के योगवित्तमाः. To this query, Lord Krishna replied, मय्यावेश मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परेयो पेतास्ते मे युक्ततमा मताः. एत्वक्षरम् अनिर्देश्यम् अव्यक्तं पर्युपासते सर्वत्र गमचिन्तं च कूटस्थम् अचलं ध्रुवम्. सन्नियम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः. क्लेशोदीकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्ता सक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखं देहवद् विरवाप्यते. This is what we had seen in our last session. So the gist of this last session, or the query, begins with Arjuna posing a question to Lord Sri Krishna, wherein he asks Lord, please kindly tell me or preach me which of the worship or which of the forms of the worship is more supreme, whether worship to you in a particular form or worship in a formless manner, as we had seen the example of yogis who mainly meditate or worship the formless God. That requires, and we have seen advantages, disadvantages also, and wherein a person resigns himself to the wood or the Himalayas or certain caves and wants to live in a secluded manner or wants to live all alone. Then he meditates upon the God without any particular form, because he is in the forest, so he doesn't get any temple or any facilities or any such things. So he is forced upon to worship only the God that is within him, or the Avyakta, or that is that covers the entire universe without any particular form. And Lord Sri Krishna has also revealed certain advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of that kind of worship is that the attainment of the powers is also very quick. Very fast they will achieve something. It is a fast track. But at the same time, lot of disadvantages are there, or more of the risks of the fall down of that devotee. As we had seen, when a devotee starts practicing his meditation or his inner journey, he starts attaining certain supernatural powers. Supernatural powers, they come as a free fall to him. They are not his aim, they are not his target, but they are free fall or bonus gifts, which has no significance in any of this mythology or attainment or in the view of Lord Sri Krishna. They may include generation or holding the fire in their hands, or walking in the middle of the fire, or walking on waters, or flying in the skies, or again appearing in two places at the same time, or again vanishing from one place and appearing in some other place at a time. So like that, all these free fall gifts that devotee or yogi will attain. But the yogi, if he falls as a trap to all these things, then he has deviated from the path of that attainment of Supreme Lord, and he starts falling down. It is a very slippery path, downhill path. Once he wants to enjoy those powers, that is walking on a water or something vanishing, if he wants to practice all those things, then that means he has deviated from the path. The main aim or the main objective is attainment of the Lord and not these supernatural powers. They do not have any significance in mythology. It is only a free fall gift that automatically comes, as we have seen the example of jawar, wherein a farmer sows the jawar to get a beautiful jawar, not the stem. Stem comes automatically. Same thing we had seen example of sugarcane also, wherein our main aim is the sugar or the jaggery, not that molasses. So this is what Lord was speaking of in formless worship, that is both advantages and disadvantages. At the same time, he was counting the advantages and disadvantages of worship of the Supreme Lord in a particular form. In a particular form, in the sense, it may be any form that we feel or we have our association with. It may be Lord Shiva or Lord Ganesha or Lord Hanuman. They are all supreme to us. One fact is that they are all supreme to us. So when we start worshipping in a particular form, those gods are also very much pleased. Advantage is that we get slow benefits. Like yogi gets quick or a fast benefits or fast track benefits, wherein in this path the benefits are very slow. That is why even if you worship any particular god in a particular, maybe Saturdays we visit a Hanuman temple or Raghavendra temple or a Dattatreya temple, wherever we want to go, or a Shiva temple, and pray so many things. We ask this gift and that particular gift and this bonus, but we don't get it quickly. Reason is because here the attainment of fruit is very slow. For a yogi, it is very fast and quick. Here attainment is very slow. But what is the disadvantage there? It is a slippery path, a very tough path. Lot of chances of falling down are there. But in this, there is no chance of falling down. Suppose if I am going every week to a particular Hanuman temple every Saturday, 1 week if I do not go, makes no difference. That is, I don't fall from the path. There the yogi, suppose if he misses, he will fall down. Or if he misutilizes the powers, he will fall down, or he will stoop down to a very deep well. Whereas in this worship, there is no fall down. It's only ascending. It's simply ascending. It may be delayed, because we don't pursue as a yogi pursues all the 24 hours of a day, but we pursue only very casually, very sportfully, very leisurely, from the comfort of our homes, from the comfort of our times. In a 24 hours, I may get some time in the morning, so I will worship. Or I may get some time in the afternoon, so I may feel like worshipping in the afternoon. Or maybe I get some time in the evening and I feel like worshipping in the evening. Or maybe I don't get time at all and I don't worship today at all. So this leisure, this luxury is there in this formed worship, whereas in non-formed this luxury cannot be enjoyed. But only disadvantage is that fruits come very slowly. What is wrong in if we get slowly? There is no hurry in this path. Lord himself has claimed in Bhagavad Gita in some other slokas, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. The meaning is that Bahunam Janmanamante, it is a very big journey. It will not fructify in one birth. It may take two births, it may take 10 births, it may take 100 births, it may take 10,000 births also. Repeatedly we have to die, we have to be born. Bahunam Janmanamante. That means when we complete that journey through various forms, then only we have the possibility of attaining. So this is one of the advantages. There is no fallback in this one. There is no risk in this one. Very luxuriously we can pray the Lord. So that is how Lord says that there are two forms of worship are there. One is the worship in a particular form, maybe Rama or a Krishna or any form that I many a times I put, because sometimes whatever form we remember, because I am discussing with Gita of Lord Krishna, so repeatedly I get the name of Lord Krishna. It may be any god that you feel that you have that affiliation, or you are a devotee of that particular god. There is no absolute hindrance. You can worship any god that you feel, yes, I should worship this one. It may be god or it may be goddess. As I said, it may be Parvati or a Kali or a Mahalakshmi or a Saraswati. Any plenty of names are there for the god, and all names end up in god only. So this is what we had seen in last session. I had brushed up this session so that once again we are reconnected to our topic of that Bhakti Yoga, glory of Bhakti Yoga, and also different types of the Bhakti, and what Bhakti Yoga is, and what are the meanings of these four verses. Next, we will proceed to our next verse, that is Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananne naiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate तेषाम् अहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्यु संसार सागरात् भवामि नचिरात् पार्थ मय्या वेशित चेतसाम्. Since these two are connected, this half of one is in fourth and half is in fifth, so I have continued two verses here. Lord says, Etu sarvani karmani. Etu sarvani. Etu means those. Those who. Sarvani karmani. All their actions, they surrender. Etu sarvani karmani. All the actions who surrender to me. Mai sanyasya matparaha. Who surrender, who offer to me. Matparaha. Considering me as a supreme God, who offer to me. Ananne naiva yogena, that means without a devoted, with a devoted mind or without deviation, who again worship me, mam dhyayanta, dhyana, who worship me, upasate, who worship me or who pray me, tesham aham samuddharta, all those people, samuddharta means completely, I take the responsibility completely, and what I do, Mrityu Samsara Sagarat. Just now we had seen Bahunam Janmanamante. We have to take repeated births and repeated deaths will occur. It may be tens of thousands of times we are born. As in our Hindu mythology, we say that there are 84 lakh uh, Jivarashis or lives are there. We keep on circling among themselves. That is what Lord is telling about. Many times we have to take birth, and many a times we have to die. And then what Lord says, those who worship me, I take them to my realm. How I will take to my realm? Very quickly. That is, he says very quickly, not there is no much time, there is no lapse of time. He says, Bhavami na chirat partha. Chira means late. Na chira. That means not late. I do not delay. Those who are my devotees, I do not delay. Immediately I lift them. So this is one of the beautiful direct meanings of this verse that we had seen. Now we will see some diverted or extended forms of this meanings of this verse. Usually what happens is all the saints and the sages, they don't come down to the worldly definitions or worldly examples. They only deal with the highest forms of the examples. As I was telling, suppose if you want to justify a verse of a Bhagavad Gita, you have to use another Bhagavad Gita sloka or verse to justify it, or use some Bhagavad verse to justify it, not worldly examples to justify it. That is how saints always quote only either Upanishads, they quote only other Puranas, or they quote Brahma Sutras to derive the meanings. But we ordinary souls, we try to extend this to our day-to-day life also. That is why we need saints to guide and some ordinary people, so we can draw the meaning to our day-to-day life also. Because it's a very mundane discussion. If somebody asks how was the war between Rama and Ravana, who else can define or explain the war between Rama and Ravana? It is only Rama and Ravana's war only. We don't have any comparison for that one. If somebody says how vast and deep is ocean, especially suppose if it's a blind person, how do I explain or we explain? We fail in the words. We cannot say that 100 wells will make an ocean, 10,000 wells will make, or 100 rivers will make an ocean, or 10,000 rivers will make an ocean. We don't have any examples for that one. Rama Ravana yor yuddham, Rama Ravana yoriva. Whatever the war was between Rama and Ravana, only it was like that only. No other war took place like that to compare. But still we have to compare because we cannot draw that deep meaning. If I have to tell something, what is an ocean to a blind person, something I have to tell that he is familiar. I have to tell that yes, it is like some 10,000 lakes are there, or 10,000 rivers. Some explanation has to be given. So they are all ordinary examples. So what we are discussing is main example, main direct meaning of the verse, and then extended meaning of this one in our day-to-day life. Otherwise, what happens? Those who are nowadays, especially the young generation or across the world, if somebody says you do this one, you will ask one questions: why should I do? If the religious book says like this or sanctions like this, why should I follow? Where is the justice? Isn't it? Suppose if earlier people used to say don't Western culture, don't adopt the Western culture. So people started shaking hands and hugging each other. But when Corona came, they realized that this was a wrong culture. That means the youth or the present day person wants a scientific evidence for everything. They don't blindly believe. So that scientific evidence that is why we are drawing the meaning of directly what the Lord has said. He has said farm worship and without farm worship. So youth will feel what is this? This is all just an extension of something which has no relevance or scientific evidence. So we have to draw the examples to our day-to-day life. Then only again we can read the Gita, and when once we start reading, we start attaining that higher level, and then we feel yes, this is what is the right meaning that Lord Krishna was telling. That means it has to come in the experience of our day-to-day life. It should not become only a bookish matter. It should be realized by us. It should come to our reality. Then we can say that yes, this is what is the meaning of this one. So that is what Lord says, without delay, I will do it. So I was telling that Etu Sarvani Karmani Mai Sanyasya Mat Paraha. What is the meaning of this one? Whatever actions you do, that you have to surrender or offer to me. I remember one of the books that I had read almost 20-25 years back. I had read Living with Himalayan Masters by Swami Ram. Long back, quite long back in the student life, probably I had read. I recollected that example. And I feel like quoting from that book only because long back I had read. I don't have that copy also now. Wherein he says that Swami Ram was who was Swami Ram? I will tell you. Swami Ram was a engineer by profession. He was engineer, but he had passion for Indian spiritualism. So what he did is he resigned his job and whatever wealth, money. Then he took sannyasa and started his journey, living with Himalayan masters. He started his journey to Himalayas. There he met a lot of sages, and their experiences he has shared in the form of a book, that is Living with Himalayan Masters. It is a wonderful book. Whenever you have your hands on that book, please, I strongly recommend to read. You will enjoy, or you will enter into a new world. Such a beautiful book that is Living with Himalayan Masters. Anyway, I was quoting an example from that book. That is why I had quoted that book, wherein he says when he met one of the sages in an Himalaya cave. The sage was almost, in Himalaya, what you will get almost ice at 20 minus 20 degrees centigrade or 0 degrees centigrade. So that all the possession that cave sage had was two tumblers and one pair of cloth. This was his position. It was a divine this one. When he met again, he welcomed him and they had long. He stayed together with that sage for one day. He observed his lifestyle and activities. The sage has two tumblers and one just extra, that is one pair of cloth. One he was wearing, other after bathing he was washing them. So when he saw, Swami Ram saw both the tumblers, brass tumblers that he had, he was almost cleaning the brass vessels for almost 1 hour after bathing, and they were looking very new, as if he had just bought from a shop. They were looking very new. Then Swami was very curious and he asked, "Sage, you live in such a utter conditions and you have only two positions. You are spending 1 hour on this one. What is this? Who is there to see whether you have cleaned to this extent or absolutely like a brand new or cleaned for 1 hour? Who is there to bother about your clothes and this one?" Then he said, so this is what he remembers. That is, Etu Sarvani Karmani Mai Sanyasya Matparaha. That means whatever actions we do, we should do as if it is a worship or a prayer to the Lord or Supreme Lord or Krishna. It may be washing the utensils. It may be washing of the clothes. It may be cooking in the kitchen by a mother. It may be any action that we do, or bathing, or cleaning, or our ablutions, or day-to-day activity, or walking, whatever we do, it should become a prayer, or at least consider that I am not washing the clothes, I am not washing my body, I am washing the body of the Supreme Lord who resides in me. Or I am doing a seva to the God, that is who has created cotton, who has created this cloth, and who has given me this cloth which covers me or protects me from heat, which protects me from sunlight, which protects me from cold, which protects me from the rains. So who has given that capacity in the cotton to make it a thread, convert it into a cloth and wear? It is the God who has done. So if by washing that cloth, he says, I am worshipping the God. This is one of the beautiful meanings that I derived from that book. Then another meaning. Now, what is our relevance? It was between sage. So, what is our relevance? That means whatever job we are doing, whatever action we are doing, if we surrender or offer that as a service to Supreme Lord, that itself becomes a prayer. And Lord says that I accept it as a prayer and I give him my moksha. So what is that you are talking? So we are talking that suppose if you are a teacher, do your job honestly as a teacher. If you are a clerk, do the job of a clerk as very honestly. If you, whatever, so many professions are there, it may be teacher, it may be a clerk, it may be a postman, it may be a bank officer, an LIC officer, a politician or a corporator, anything that we imagine, if we do this as a prayer or a worship to the God, that means we are praying the God without directly praying. No, I am not going to temple. Simply I am doing my teaching profession very honestly. I am doing. I never worship. I don't stand in front of God. I don't fold my hands, or I don't worship. I don't do any religious activities. But simply because I am a teacher, I do honest teaching to my students. God says, nothing to worry. You did not have to come to me. Your prayer has come to me through your teaching profession because you are honest. So just now imagine if this happens in our world. Within a fraction of a time, our same world will become a heaven on the earth, because there is no scope for corruption, there is no scope for manipulation. If a teacher does his honest job, there is no question of partiality or favoring to certain students or somebody not. If a politician becomes, there is no differentiation between people in his service. If some bank person does, post office person, whoever it is there, whatever profession we are there. So if we offer or surrender or do our actions as a worship, my teaching profession is my worship. It is not my bread winning job. Bread is a byproduct of this one. As I said, Jawar is our main name. Stem is only this one, a free gift. I can win my bread by any other thing. I may teach, I may make money and bread and butter for me, or I may open a small kirana shop and I earn my bread and butter for me, or I may do some other cycle repair and then I earn my bread and butter for me. That means whatever the profession or whatever job that we have accepted, if we can do that job very honestly, that itself means that we are praying the Lord. So this is the extended meaning. So that is how beautifully, see, every verse, every word, every small bit of Bhagavad Gita is contains so much of holy. That is why when he says Bhagavad Gita is a very small book. The cost of book is only 2 rupees. If you go to Gorakhpur Press, you will get Bhagavad Gita book for only 2 rupees or even 5 rupees also. Very small books are there. So, but if you see the commentaries, they run into pages. I only wrote one, many of you know it. I wrote one commentary on Bhagavad Gita in English that is 650 pages. So that means many saints, even if you refer the book of Madhvacharya and Bhagavad Gita, only second chapter, there is one book of 500 pages. Only second chapter, nothing else. So how they can write all these things? That means a small book, that is every word is so important. Today, highest number of commentaries or translations are available for Bhagavad Gita on the entire earth. Highest sold book, highest read book. Why this is possible? Because every word is has so much of hidden and esoteric and secret meanings in it. So that is how we extend this logic. So again, etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya mat paraha. Again, I am getting a warning from our Zoom. Only first sloka, today's first sloka only I have started. So they say that only 10 minutes I am left. So after 5 to 7 minutes, again I will disconnect. Again, let us connect. Actually, I wanted to complete this 12th chapter, but anyway, let us deliberate. It's only one sloka I had read. That is, Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. Those who offer all their actions to me, and ananya naiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Those who feel that their actions are not meant for ordinary worldly pleasures, but they are worship. God has given this chance. Somebody may be a priest, somebody may be a teacher, somebody may be a banker, somebody may be something else, or businessman, or whatever, barber, or a cobbler, whatever it is there. Ravidas, who was a cobbler, he was a cobbler, Ravidas, in Varanasi, and Mirabai made him her guru. So that means profession is not important. Whatever profession we are in, if we are honest to that profession, that itself automatically becomes this one. Even the Varanasi University gate is named as Ravidas Gate only. Those who have visited Varanasi, they can very well make out who was that Ravidas. Then we'll proceed to next. This is what is the extended meaning. Then we'll go proceed further. मय्येव मन आदत्स्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः. मय्येव मन आदत्स्व, place your mind in me. मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय, place your wisdom also in me. So why God is telling like this? Place mind also as well as wisdom also, because sometimes we place mind, we forget the wisdom itself, or we start arguing. Why should I do this one? Why should I take round around some pradakshinas or circle the temple? What is logic in that? It's a meaningless. That is, I am going there, but my wisdom, my intelligence is telling this is illogical, isn't it? So that is why God says that you place your mind as well as place your wisdom in me. Mayeva mana adatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayeva ata urdhvam na samshaya. If you place your mind, mind in the sense in Sanskrit, heart also. That is, you place your mind, you place your heart, you place your wisdom in me, then undoubtedly, urdhvam, that is, you will attain that. In the 15th chapter, first word itself is urdhva means main person, or as we have seen Lord Krishna, or his Vaikuntha, or his world, or his realm. Atha urdhvam na samshaya, na samshaya, don't have any doubt about it. Samshaya means doubt, same Sanskrit word in Kannada. Samshaya, na samshaya, don't have any doubts about it. That is, if you devote yourself, if you place your mind, if you place your wisdom in me, without any doubt, undoubtedly, I will be your savior, and I will take you to our realms. That is what Lord says in this one. The next, he says, Atachittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichhatum dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means Arjuna. Lord is telling, suppose if you are unable, there will be some people, isn't it? Everybody has his own temperament, everybody has his own fingerprints, everybody has his own way of living, everybody has his own way of thought process. So Lord says, suppose if you are unable to place your mind, somebody may say, sir, I am unable to place my mind in you. Fine, don't place it. If you are unable to place your mind, or if you are unable to become stabilized by yourself, there are so many people, suppose those who are in office, you will be knowing, there are a set of people in a office, some, let us say, some attenders are there. They are very good in doing jobs outside the office itself. Suppose if you ask him to do some job of a bank or some office or something, you very promptly will do. He will never sit in one place and do the work. On the other hand, there are some people, even if you poke him to go and do that bank work or some other work, he will not do, because he will keep on postponing, because his temperament is to sit and do the job. Both do the job, but one has that inclination for this kind of job, other has an inclination for the other kind of job. Both are doing very honestly their job. So Lord says, if you are unable to place your mind like that, or if you are unable to earn this knowledge, somebody may feel boring. So this is very complicated with us, complicated verses, slokas. I am unable to read or by heart, or unable to understand head and tail of this one. Somebody may feel like that. Absolutely, there is nothing wrong. So what the Lord says is, if there is difficulty like this, abhyasa yogena. Abhyasa means repeatedly you do it. Today you do it. You may feel bored. Leave it. Tomorrow again you do it. Day after tomorrow again you do it. Again next day you do it. So you keep on doing. So when you practice this over a period of time, it becomes your habit. So that is what Lord says. So he is now, what the Lord is doing is that he is opening the gates. He is opening so many gates. That is, he says, first you worship in particular form, or you worship in particular style without any form. If you are incapable of that one, simply place your mind. If you are incapable of that one, simply place your wisdom. If you are incapable of that one, just surrender all actions. You did not have to come to my place or at a temple. Simply whatever teaching job, whatever job, X, Y, Z, because we are teachers, repeatedly I am getting example of teaching only. So whatever job that we are doing, offer that activity to the Lord. So that means it also becomes automatic prayer. So that is what Lord is telling here. That means he is giving so many options, A, B, C, D. You follow any path you follow, it comes to me only. How it comes to him? That he says, Akashat patitam toyam yatagacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskaraha keshavam pratigacchati. Whichever God you worship, in whatever form you worship, ultimately it reaches. Like as we say, I have a fan is meant for giving a cool air, or a heater is meant for giving the heat, or a light is meant for giving the light. Something different purpose. But what is the energy? Energy is only electricity. Same electricity, if it goes to a hot air oven, it heats up. If it goes to a fridge, it cools down. If it goes to a fan, it starts circulating the air. If it is flown through a tube light, it starts giving emitting light. So many, same energy, activities are different. So if you worship whatever God that you feel like worshipping, ultimately it reaches the same source or same grid or the same current. So that is what the Lord is telling here. That is, Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum. You desire that you should attain me. Oh Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is the name of again Arjuna, because Arjuna won so many kingdoms. So he became Dhananjaya. Dhanam means money. Money. He earned money as a king by doing so many glorious and valiant wars. That is how he attained very important this one. So again, I am getting a message of running out of time. I think I have 2 minutes. I think right now we have stopped at the 9th. We can start again, reconnect, and let us start this one, so that we can take up the fresh verse next.